And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the drum. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hello, all you ligaments and legs out there. Welcome to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience. And we have a really good episode for you today. It's Vic Theater, Chicago, 2007. And we have a very special guest for you. It's our fifth and sixth leg. The creator of livefootsteps.org, Dave JanTausch, is here. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you on. And
it's a big deal here.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks that you were coming on the show, and you're an awesome guest because you know, just kind of like how other people do for the Pearl Jam community, you provide an awesome service with livefootsteps.org, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But it's funny, we really started talking because I had sent you an email way before the podcast even started about what we were doing in the fantasy league. And I'm like, can you do this stat? Can you do this stat? So like, it's just funny. And then all of a sudden you were like, hey, how's the podcast going? And I'd forgotten if I had ever mentioned anything to you about it. So I thought I was very excited that you even knew about it.
Yeah, oddly enough, I heard about it. Actually, I found you guys. You were talking about it on Facebook, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that name looks familiar. Let me go back to my old emails." Like, oh, yeah, he's looking for this, looking for that. Like, and then I went to try to find you guys at Fenway, and I couldn't find you when you were over at a what was it, Game On?
No way, really?
I actually tried to find you guys, and I heard later, were you guys upstairs?
We were upstairs, yeah. We had, that was a...
Yeah, that happened to a few people that had gone downstairs to that party room with the, what do they have, like the pool tables and stuff down there? Yeah, we saw a couple people down there. They went straight down there.
Yeah, I went straight down there and looking for you guys and missed you.
That's too bad. Next show we'll have to meet up.
Oh yeah.
That makes me feel good that more people were looking for us though. You know, like that's awesome. But I didn't know that. But it's funny that you say that you like randomly found us through Facebook, because that's over the summer. I don't think before the 2018 shows I had any idea of what Live Footsteps was. And for most of my stats, I was really going through the PJ Stat Tracker, or if I was getting desperate, I was going through Setlist FM. But it wasn't until this year that, you know, because people were posting like, hey, you want live updates and there's no live stream going on right now, this will give you the live updates, what songs what songs have been played. And then you look into it even further and you guys have like enormous stats. Amazing stats that are just mind-blowing, and we'll get to those in a minute. But when did you guys, because it was you and your brother, when did you guys end up starting this?
Let's see. We went live October 2013, actually. Couple days. Yeah, a couple days before the Worcester shows.
Okay.
And that was a while. It was about 5 years ago now.
Yeah, that's because that was around the same time as Brooklyn, and we did that was the 5-year anniversary that we did a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I I started out with the idea, which my brother gave me. We're also big Dave Matthews fans, and they have their own website, D&B Almanac, which my brother was always looking at all the stats. Like, hey, I've seen this song, I've seen that song. You know, I want to know this for Pearl Jam. And at the time, there wasn't anything around. So he's asked me, hey, do you think you could do this? I'm like, well, let me try. And I started putting it together, and at first we were just had the stats out there, and there was no user interaction, and it was probably another 6-7 months before we had people register and were able to track their own stats.
I mean, it's so cool. It's really cool to just go in there. You kind of get lost a little bit down the rabbit hole, because once you go into one show that you even your own shows, forget it. Because I'll go in there and I'll spend, I did it today too. I just spend a couple minutes just being like, hey, what happened at that Hartford show I went to back in 2010? Like, did they do this? It's just kind of a good reminder, but then you look into it more and it's like, oh, I didn't know that they didn't play Low Light for 30 shows before that show. And then you just keep falling into it. And it's like, okay, well, what else can I figure out? There's so much that detail that goes into it. I'm just amazed by it.
There is, and there was always this running joke with my brother and I when we started the site. We were like, after a while, we're like, when was the last time they played that? I'm like, well, there's the site out there that could. So we did it for our own curiosity, and then we're like, well, we gotta push it out to everybody else, because I'm sure everybody else is wondering what's going on with, because they throw so many set lists out there that they randomize it, and they do a really good job of going throughout the years and hitting every album throughout a whole tour.
So I had a question, and it was more along the lines of, since this is sort of a massive undertaking, and they are really good about keeping stats and track of everything kind of out there in the real world, but from beginning to launch time, around how long did this take you to put together? Because I could imagine it being a bit of a job.
I wish this was my only job. This doesn't pay the bills.
I bet it takes up as much time though.
Yeah, it certainly does, and sometimes it gets to be a little bit of a lull when there's no tour.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, I gotta do some coding, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. But when there's tours, we're always trying to update the site and get things going. But when we started, it probably took about close to a year to get it all up and running. Most of the research was done by my brother Brian, and he gave me all the information, and we just put it together.
That's awesome. That just a curiosity and your knowledge of coding and your knowledge of website building, I'm sure, just piqued your interest. And it's not that much different than kind of what Matt and I did. We were saying we wanted to do a podcast, and well, we have mics and we have, let's figure this out. Let's get this done, because this is fun, and we kind of there's a satisfying feeling of when a fellow Pearl Jam fan communicates with you and they tell you, wow, you're doing something really awesome and something that I've always wanted. And I feel like we're kind of both situations really mirror each other, which is just so cool.
Oh, certainly. It's very rewarding when I get emails and people, thank you, and hey, can you do this stat? And I'm curious about this or curious about that. It's very rewarding.
That's been me the last couple months. I've been like, hey, now that we're friends, I have lots of ideas. So
well, I'm curious too. I mean, I've spent some time talking to you, sending emails back and forth, and trying to, it's like, oh yeah, that's something I never really thought of, because working on it, I get in my own head and I'm like, I want this, I want that, and I don't think of other things, I guess.
Now, you know, anybody can go on this livefootsteps.org. I'm telling you, if you're not on it, even if you've only been to a couple shows, just go on it and just look. Just go to a time period where you're like, okay, wonder what they did during the binaural tour, and just look at a couple different shows, and you'll see just truly how how unique this band is, that they can go out there and they can change it up live every night. And you can see the discrepancy, when you have and you're on an album tour and you see like late, say like I was looking at a lot of binaural stuff today actually, and you see like late in the binaural tour, they're down to like doing about 4 or 5 songs from the album a night, and you're like, oh, so I guess this really fell out of favor from the beginning, and you can kind of see some trends, and then you can see some ridiculous things that you think you would never see, and songs that you expect to be played so often that we'll talk about a lot of those tonight in this show that I thought were more common than they actually were, and we'll talk about those stats. But it's just, again, the rabbit hole that you fall down. But really, before we get into talking about Vic Theater, what's your favorite thing that you've stumbled upon? Like the most, like when you're pickaxing for the gold there, when you're mining for the gold, what piece of gold did you find that you're just like, oh my God, this is the craziest stat that I've seen out of this band?
Oh, geez, that's. I should have been.
I'm sure he just had about 500 things roll through his head right there from putting all this together throughout the years.
There are so many different things, and to pick one thing. Oh, geez. Now this is my problem now, is I'm gonna be looking up my own stats on my own site.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Fatal.
Okay.
Fatal and Other Side. Fatal been played 8 times. I've seen it twice.
Wow.
And Other Side played 3 times. I've heard it once.
That's not bad.
That's pretty impressive.
And I've only been to 14 shows.
That's really impressive.
That's a lot of collectors I think would be pretty jealous of you for that kind of stat right there.
Yeah, for the serious record collector, yes, that is that is incredible.
Yeah.
For somebody, I've only been to 20, and Matt, you've been to like 13, so we're kind of all in the same boat here. But I at one point was just looking at the songs that I've seen and kind of putting them in a category of like, wow, maybe I'll never see this again. And some of those songs I've seen twice too, like Push Me, Pull Me, which has been played less than 20 times, I've seen twice. A bunch of other ones, but like, out of my mind that they played in Boston, like no one's ever going to see that again. Just ridiculous stuff. So that's, to go back and to really look at your site and say, okay, it was amazing at the time that I saw such and such song, but your site proves how amazing it is. It brings all the facts together, and it's a beautiful thing. I do want to get into Vic Theater 2007, and the reason why we picked this show, it's chock full of just rare, everything, uncommon and rare, and just holy shit moments. And when I was talking to you, I had known about the Vic Theater show from a couple other people that had mentioned it. Didn't really know about it at the time, but kind of grew into it a little later. But what looking at this show from a statistical standpoint, is this one of the crazier shows that they've ever done?
For ranking, it's probably about 4th rarest. Although I have to preface that with some of the rarities, the rarity calculations that we have, are based off of song plays and also how long ago was the first time the song was played, or how long ago was the album released, and then also how long it's been since the song was last played.
I noticed that, and I noticed one of those in the top 5 was a show from 1992, and I was
Right.
wondering how that worked.
Right. So
that was like pre-10 where nothing was played yet or something like that, or
it was a lot of shows before that have no data.
right, okay.
It has, so basically it makes almost all the songs there haven't been played in like between 12 and 20 shows. So it's a little bit skewed because of the missing data back then.
So it's not the most perfect science. I don't want to say it's not a perfect science, but like you're basing it off of at the time how rare it was. The one thing that I guess I I feel caught me off guard when looking at my shows and how rare some of my shows were. The MSG shows from 2010, the first night was more rare than the second night, even though the second night had Sweet Lou, Black, Red, Yellow, Hunger Strike, Breath, I'm Open, a couple other. How does that work?
At the time, it's just basically it's a ranking of every song, and then it's just an average of all those rankings that I show based on how many songs were at that show. And we're not saying that this is perfect. I would like to work and massage the calculations a little bit, but there is some equations behind this to try to get some kind of a rarity for songs and shows.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I understand that. I guess just one of the things I was always boggled by that first MSG night was more rare than the second one, and I look at the two set lists back to back, and I'm like, I there's some stuff I'll never hear again from that second one, but
That brings me to the point that maybe after that show they don't play those songs, but maybe before that they had.
right. So is there an idea to like add the science into there, like where you can kind of say before and after, how not just how rare this was at the time, but how rare all time it is, or is that something you're working on, or
That is something we've been looking into, yes.
awesome,
There's always stuff on my plate. Just gotta find the time.
So what you're saying is the rabbit hole is going to get a lot deeper, which I don't think people will mind. I think people would. These are things people like to collect. It's like, oh well, yeah, I was at MSG 2010, but did you know that was a rarer show than XYZ? And people like Randy, he'll like to have that under his belt.
I'll go to sleep at night trying to think about how many times I've seen a certain song and how rare it is and how many times it's been played. I'll get Rain Man about it if I have to.
I mean, there are some people who have complained, or not complained, but mentioned to us that, hey, this show has one song that's been played once ever. I'm like, well, that's rare, but there's no way of comparing that to that song, comparing it to itself. Like, since we base it on, like, when was the last time something was played? If it was only played once, there's nothing to compare it to. So the rankings are a little bit off there, I guess.
I was at the 2006 Irving Plaza show, and it was kind of like a Vic Theater show, about 1,000 people, and we had to wait online to get avocado, and then you get the ticket for the show, which was a week later. But you look at the set list, I think it's like 15 or 16 songs, and there's really nothing rare at all about the set list. It's pretty straight to the point and standard.
But at the time, it was pretty rare because everything was pretty much debuting that night, right? Is that what you're...
Well, yeah, I mean they did a few off the Avocado album, but what I mean is I guess it hasn't aged well as like a super rare show because everything else, Ledbetter, Alive, all that stuff, they were all in there. There was nothing really amazing about it besides the fact that it was only about 1,000 people there in Irving Plaza, which makes it rare, but the set list is by no means, at least not in 2018.
Has anybody asked you the idea of like maybe like doing like a rating system, not by numbers, but by like popularity? How kind of how we do when we rank our shows. Has anybody said like putting like a fan view or something on there where like people go in and they'll 1 through 5 rate the show so people know not just by looking at the set list, but there are shows where you can look at the set list and be like, okay, this isn't bad, and somebody can be like, dude, Eddie had no voice that night or something like that.
Yeah, just recently, and I was going to think that it was actually you, but no, it wasn't. But somebody was like, hey, I want to be able to rank my songs, my favorite songs, or my least favorite songs, and compare them to rank a show, saying, hey, I saw 5 of my favorite songs and maybe 3 of my really horrible, shitty songs I hate, and get a ranking for every show they've been to.
I see what you're saying.
And we're looking into that.
That's really cool, because then you could have each show have a listener average, like a rating average. So you get all these people that vote on it or that rate it, and 98% rating among the fans, or this one only has a 67% rating. Why is that?
That's what I'm saying.
Go in there
Yeah.
and look. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how in depth and detailed that could get, because you guys already killed the game with that already. So we're not trying to dump a whole bunch of extra work on you here.
Yeah, give me all these ideas and me like quit my job and start this.
Start a GoFundMe, you'll be fine.
Go full time with it.
All right, so Vic Theater, 2007. We chose it because it's a rare show. Again, about 1,000 people were there. Tickets were impossible to get. If you remember at the time, it was hit F5 and keep refreshing, and you probably get the wheel going round and round saying loading, loading, loading.
Man, I was reading up about that. These guys had it easy, man. I would have loved. I waited online outside Tower Records for 18 hours to get into that Irving Plaza show. These guys just had to wait for the pinwheel to go around a couple of times to see if they got in.
Yeah, but for GA, we still had to wait. You still had to be in line because there were no seats.
Well, yeah, I know, but I was first in line, so it was fine. I only had to wait 6 hours for that.
It's because you and Steve are psychopaths sometimes.
Back then, sure.
This wasn't really during the tour. It was kind of a pre-show for Lollapalooza of that year, and I can't remember. Were you at that Lollapalooza, Matt, or were you not? Steve was at that. 2007.
Yeah, Steve went to that. I'd started going to Lollapalooza the year after.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if you were at that one.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Okay, so I mean, this is something. It's happened before in Pearl Jam's history. You go to Astoria in 06, that's in London, and Shepherd's Bush in London in 2009, and they were both kind of warm-up shows, so to speak, kind of small venues and try to get back to the fans. But you look at those set lists, and those set lists were nothing like what they put together for the Vic Theater show. They put this show together. I'm calling it a campfire sing-along show for the fans that have always wanted to go to a show and get everything that they could ever dream of. That's what this show was. I'll have my complaints about it, but I don't think anybody can come out of this show saying there wasn't a song that I really wanted to hear, or I didn't want to hear any of those songs. And I can't see how anybody would be really disappointed about what they put together. You know what I'm saying?
I would hope not. I mean, especially for people that are going through so much trouble to get the ticket.
Right.
I would assume, 99% of the people are walking out of there like, holy cow.
Yeah, and this band is so good about just giving back to their fans, and even if when you do the math, it's really about 500 people that got tickets because everybody's getting 2 tickets, so 500 people won, and then everybody gets 2 tickets, and then I'm going to give one to this my friend from the the board. I'm going to give one to my girlfriend, my boyfriend, whoever. You know, I it's even a smaller amount than you think. So that's what makes it so special. And you know, there's a lot of stories from this, and we'll get to some of them in a later time. But I mean, even soundcheck, people were saying they didn't really know going into it was going to be a rare show until soundcheck, and everybody started talking. So this is what they ended up doing in soundcheck, and this is pretty good as it is. If you're getting any of these at this show, you would have been like, all right, I'm in. And some of these they didn't. Some of them they
Yes,
didn't.
soundcheck is pretty good.
I Am Mine, Sad, Undone, Tremor Christ, Worldwide Suicide, Off He Goes, Parachutes, Education, Love Reign Over Me.
Yeah, so you got some from the set mixed in there, and then you have some that didn't make the cut.
And the ones that made the cut, I mean, like, Tremor Christ is great, and you don't hear it that often. And I Am Mine is great, but you know, you could skip I Am Mine if you have to.
Oh, how dare you!
I know you always end up getting it anyway. It doesn't
I know.
matter.
It's an amazing talent of mine. I don't know how I do it.
Even so, the stuff that were on the set list too. Dirty Frank was on the set list. I Got Shit was on the set list. Light Years and Crazy Mary, which are all good for this environment. You read a lot of comments about the show saying that it needed to be a specific environment. It couldn't be an arena rock show, and that's really what we get here. So, without further ado, with all of our numbers ready to be crunched in, we're going to head into the show, and it starts off with the preset. And the preset is Eddie doing his thing, and he, at the end of the first track, which is a Cat Stevens cover of Trouble, Ed would say, I come cheap, I'm the opening act. So I thought that was kind of funny, but it's also, you know, obviously Ed is going to do this at this point. They do about 5 songs here. We're not going to spend too much time on them, but we'll run through them real quickly. Midway through Trouble, Ed stops and says that there are so many flashes that it feels like a disco in here. And he said he needs some cocaine in order for it to be appropriate. So squashes the idea of flash photography for this show, which you can obviously do in larger venues, but, you know, I fully understand his gripe here. And any thoughts on this one? I thought it was a little bit clunky when I was listening to it, and just he was trying to play faster than the pace was, and I think the song wasn't meant to go like that. So
Yeah, I mentioned he did that. I believe it was the San Jose opening set. Sometimes he gets a little bit ahead of himself. I didn't mind this though. I like the Cat Stevens covers that he'll do sometimes. So this one was okay. It was a little bumpy.
not something that he's done really before or after. Dave, you have anything on this one, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I actually I have the Vault disc, and I don't have any of the presets, and I wasn't able to find any video or audio from the preset. But as you're saying, like Trouble, you know, he had some trouble with it, and maybe that's why he played it 5 times before this show, and he hasn't played it since.
I'm sorry, Randy. What song had we mentioned before where it was just so bad that they weren't coming back to it? Was it a Backspacer song?
Speed of Sound.
Speed of Sound. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the same thing. Bad taste in your mouth. You know, you do it one time and then you cut it out after that.
Or other things just fall into favor and you just kind of forget about it. With another cover that comes later, I don't like the version of this cover that comes later. They end up later on in their tour, they end up perfecting it, and it becomes one of their better covers that they do. But at this point, it was an early one. We'll get to that later. But after Trouble, he talks a little bit about West Memphis 3, which I believe the case was still going on at this point. And he's, trying to raise awareness for it. Eddie was obviously at this point very outspoken about it, did a bunch of benefits for it. just really not much to say on it. Obviously, justice prevailed on this one, but you know, this was really at this time. This was really the height of his awareness for it. Just kind of telling the story of the time. Um, After Trouble, you had mentioned the song that was played at the San Jose show. That was Dead Man, and this this is it. This is the last time they've ever done it. So it's an 11 or almost 12 years absence. Dave, how long has this song been in hiding for?
I think it's number 7. No, 6. It's 244 shows.
Ooh. And this is not something they did very often to begin with. From 95 to 2007, we only saw it, what is it, 20 times? That's actually really funny that the San Jose show was the first time that they'd ever played it, and this was the last time.
Randy, we tie things together on this podcast.
Put a little bow on Dead Man, and
that's one thing that we love to do accidentally.
What I'll say is, so you have it on your site as Dead Man Walking, right?
I used to have it at Dead Man Walking because that was actually the movie that it was done for.
Right.
And for some reason I go, why did I rate that? I'm like,
I think a lot of people refer to it as that, though. Maybe they have it in their head from
there's the Dead Man that Eddie did, and then there's Dead Man Walking, which Bruce did. And they're both for the movie, and only one made it.
Right.
Right. And that's why it was originally around, I think, like No Code time. It could have ended up on No Code, and then I guess they just dropped it, and then it ended up on Lost Dogs.
So I noticed that error and made that change. So it's Dead Man now.
It's just Dead Man.
Just Dead Man.
Did you just make the change right now?
No, I made it this morning, but still.
I thought that was going to be a Live on Four Legs podcast exclusive right there.
Yeah. I did it for the podcast.
It's close enough, right? Yeah, well, I'll take that.
I didn't want to talk about it and people see the wrong thing. I mean, come on. What credibility would we have then?
These idiots.
Oh, man. Well, I didn't think we'd be influencing this much at 14 episodes in, and I guess I'm right. So, continuing on and forward, the next one is a tune called "I Used to Work in Chicago." I don't really know much about it except that it's a minute long, but other people know it more than I do. I guess it's one of those local songs. Never played it before, never played it again. I don't really know what else to say. Does anybody have anything on this?
I don't know anything about this song really.
I just know that it's just a little ditty, a little folk song kind of thing. You hear it sometimes in like sports clubs, rugby clubs, and stuff like that. And they change the lyrics up, and it's sometimes a little vulgar, I guess.
Oh. Yeah, that's not. I can see it. Going into the next song, which is All the Way, Ed kind of says that All the Way is a drinking song, and I can see it kind of being like that little Irish drinking song where you just kind of you go on and you go forth. But I again never heard it before, and I have no attachment to it, so I just got nothing to say about it. So after this is the first time Eddie's ever playing it. He said he wrote the next song for the Chicago Cubs, which is obviously, next to Jill and his ukulele and Harper and his other daughter. I can't remember her name. This is like, his pride and joy. He loves his Cubs more than anything. The crowd, when he mentions the Cubs, goes insane because it's obviously Chicago, and says, if you don't like the Cubs, at least you like beer. It's a drinking song, and it's the first time he's ever played it in public. So, plays All the Way, and he really doesn't know it at this point, and they've only done it a couple times, including a couple times at Wrigley Field, and really just want to bring up to anybody that wasn't at the first Wrigley Field show that as the story goes, Mr. Cub Ernie Banks went up to Eddie and said, "We need an anthem. You have to write our anthem." And Eddie says, "Well, if the greatest Cub of all time is telling me that I have to write an anthem, I'm not going to say no." And he comes up with this just beautiful, beautiful song just about baseball and family and hope and everything for the future and even obviously both of us are baseball fans. Dave, are you a Red Sox fan being up from in that area?
Oddly enough, I am not a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankees fan.
Oh no. Oh, we invited a Yankee fan on the podcast. And this is the episode.
You can edit that out.
No, you know what? Instead, we're just gonna say goodnight and we're gonna go. That's the end of the episode, everyone. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? He's laughing at our sloppy seconds of Robinson Cano
Yeah,
right now.
definitely.
Yeah. No, I grew up in Jersey until just about 10 years old, so I had my loyalties back then. I'm not going to change teams now.
That's fair.
No way. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. And why would, if you're a Yankee fan, why would you change it? I mean, actually, Matt and I kind of did. We were more Yankee fans when we were young too, but
I don't think we even knew the Mets existed when we were kids. It was kind of a dark time. We'll put it that way.
Not a baseball podcast, and that's probably getting edited out, but that's okay. All the way, again, the band capitalized off of this with the Let's Play 2 documentary, and 9 years after this, they do go all the way. So, it when you hear this song, especially a couple of years ago, when you hear the song and you're a Cubs fan, it really does fill you with that hope and joy, and that, that future is going to be bright, and that if we just keep staying positive and keep the positive attitude, that's the difference between Cubs and Mets fans. That Cubs fans always had a positive attitude about it, but Mets fans wanted to drown themselves in a toilet.
I think it's warranted.
Hey, but you know what? In some aspects, the Cubs have always had it worse than the Mets.
Oh, absolutely.
So, moving forward, again, all the way, not really played that much, only in Chicago. I don't know if there was a time where he hadn't played it in Chicago. I'm going to guess probably not, because I know if he's played it 4 or 5 times, then at least 3 were in Chicago, because the other Wrigley one was in 2016 before they won the World Series that year. But I'm going to guess that they have not played this outside of Chicago. He ends the preset with Picture in a Frame, a beautiful, beautiful Tom Waits song, and the inspiration for the DVD title, excuse me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Imogen and Cornice, I believe how to say it in Italian. Am I right on that?
Ooh, you're asking the wrong guy.
You know, Dave?
I don't know. I think you're doing pretty good there, but I don't know.
I'm gonna get killed for that. I'm sure somebody like John is gonna write back to me and be like, "No, it's this." But yeah, beautiful song. Anybody, if I talk about it more, I might tear up.
Yeah, Waits is great. This is a cool little rendition. I'm obviously not the biggest Eddie solo guy when it gets a little Eddie-centric. This wasn't bad, and this is a nice little way to end his little preset.
Now we're done with the preset. We're done with Eddie solo, and we get the full band on stage, and they're about to do 24 songs or so of just some that you hear pretty commonly and not so commonly, and then songs that you're probably never going to hear again. And right off the bat, they do one that, opening-wise, you're never going to hear again, and you're only going to hear 17 times if you've seen them live. It's only been played 17 times. So from Riot Act, the final song off Riot Act, they open here with All or None. Let's listen to it.
It's a hopeless situation, and I'm starting to believe at this hopeless situation is what I'm trying to achieve. But I try to go on towards the here's the selfless confession, bring me back to war. Can we help that? Our destinations are the ones we've been before. But I still try to go on. You know, I still try to go on, George. On.
So off the bat here, it's such a, I mean, it's beautiful because the crowd is just. You never would have thought at a Pearl Jam show that every single person in the audience would be singing a song like this. That is such a deep cut on an album that has 15 songs on it. It's the last one, so I never used to make it to the end of Riot Act until recently. This is really a campfire song type night, and what do you think opening with this?
Well, so we've talked a lot about Riot Act not really getting its due and its due justice, and I don't think people realize really what it's worth because we've grown into it. So yeah, it's a little strange, but I like seeing a deeper track like this off the album get this spotlight, and of course it's on a rarer night, so you got to expect maybe something like this to happen. But an album that we've grown into, a deep cut off the album, gets this honor of the opening song. I think it's awesome.
This was the 10th time I believe this song has ever been played, and they only did it 7 more times since. Anything interesting on All or None, Dave?
It was the first time that it ever opened the main set. Earliest ever in the set list. It's the only one off of Riot Act for during this show. I mean,
Right.
One song. And it's strange to have it open the show or open the set, but also they actually used it as a closer once.
That's interesting too.
It almost to me it's almost like indifference. Like it's
Right.
like, okay, you know, let's slow it down. You know, we're coming out here. It's an awesome song, but it is very odd to have that start out the show.
I like how it seems like this song being very strange in both of those places, that it holds its own stat of having been the opening song, also known as the earliest it's ever been played in a set, but also a closer. That's pretty interesting for All or None. I like that a lot.
Now, with this song, it's again the only time that they've ever opened with it. How many times have they done that at, main shows, not including SNL appearances or, small festivals? How many times have they had openers unique to that one show?
We break it out in several different categories for shows. There's your regular show, there's your radio broadcasts, your TV appearances, your promos, benefit concerts, and festivals. If you take a lot of those out, maybe include the festivals, include the benefit concerts like your bridge school. You'd say it's about 29 show openers played only once, and then they gave up on the song for opening a show. So 29 different songs played once.
Very interesting. What would you don't have to run through the list of these, but if you have a list up, what's the weirdest opener out of all these?
They open with "I Got Shit."
That's interesting. I like that. I'd be into it. That kind of, yeah, that gets you started a little bit. Is there one that just doesn't make, like, have they ever opened with Indifference or opened with Ledbetter or something like that, or was that?
Yeah, I mean, they have like they opened with Baba at a show. Baba
That's
O'Reilly.
interesting. And that was a regular show, not like a festival or anything like that.
That was actually a Lollapalooza, 1992.
Wow, that I could see the crowd really getting into it after
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So and again, they did this at one of the MSG shows that we went to, Matt, and this was part of their encore. And I think maybe 10% of the crowd knew the lyrics of this song, and then it goes, but 10% of that crowd is probably about 100% of the crowd that's there that night. So, shit, really, really cool moment that you get such a deep cut that hits everybody the same way. Unconventional on the outside, you look at it and you think it's a little weird, but listening to it, I think, when you're thinking about putting the set together, I think it does work for this. And I was skeptical about it, but I'm into it. I think it works. Um, Moving on to the second song of the set, Education. Only 9 times played. They ended up doing it at Lollapalooza 3 nights later. I'm not a big Education fan. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Really?
Yeah, because you know why? I put this together with In the Moonlight because they played both these songs at PJ20, and I like In the Moonlight a little better than this. So I don't know. I just maybe I don't hate it I don't hate it at all. I like it enough. I'm just how you get into songs sometimes because they hit you in a different way in a different time period. Maybe that just hasn't happened to me with this song yet.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I like it, and I liked it here, and I like the spot for it. Well, I'm not really, honestly, I wasn't really even paying attention to set construction that much on this one because it's so crazy. So,
It is crazy. The Education again is the earliest it's ever been in a set list. Up until the next show in Lollapalooza, where they played it really early too. But other than that, they've always pushed it later in the set.
And it's 9 times ever played, right?
Yeah, 9 times.
9 times from that PJ20 show until 2016. They held off. That's 124 shows. They haven't brought it back since Philly of 2016. So it's not something that you're going to hear very often. But again, in this point in the set, it's so different because right here this is Corduroy, this is Why Go, this is Severed Hand, this is I don't know. First thing that came to my mind was Mind Your Manners, which is no, not at this time. This is Go. It's just so much different. It sets the tone that everything that you thought wasn't possible is possible. And right into it, the third song in is Another Lost Dog. It's sad. And it sounds awesome. It sounds really, really good here.
yeah, it doesn't really get better here. It's a great spot, and it sounds super tight.
We had this one for the Reading show, and it was the first ever time that they had done it. And I thought it sounded okay, but I thought that, for the first time,
Right.
it could have been better. And
I agree. I saw your note on that.
this I don't know how they don't do it more often, because if they can get it to sound like this should be in the set more than Down should be in the set. You know what I'm saying?
No, because I still like Down a little more.
Again, this is usually what, Dave, like maybe like 8th or 9th song in on average. I don't know if that's something you have up, but like
No,
if you've seen it before.
It's right in its sweet spot. 8th spot in a show. It's been 11 times in the 8th spot.
Okay, so that's
And
that's
right on.
the head.
And
Wow.
and 60% of the time, it's right in between there. Right. If it's not at the 8th spot, it's between 6 and 10. So it fluctuates, but 30 times it's been between songs 6 and 10.
And that's awesome because I think at this point they're sort of replacing stuff like Corduroy and Severed Hand with Sad, and they're giving it's kind of you know what it's kind of like. It's kind of like another baseball reference that I'm going to make the ninth of this podcast. It's like at the end of the season when your team is really shitty and you got to get some minor leaguers in there. So like the guy that's been hitting, eighth or ninth for the last month that he's been up in September is now getting a chance to hit third and see how they do in the third. So I thought it was good here. I don't think they'll ever do it up here again, but again, awesome. After Sad, we have probably what most people say is the pinnacle performance of the night, besides maybe Indifference. This song is this is to me the best version live that I've heard of this song, and the crowd destroys it. So I don't know if we should play from the beginning or we should just do the chorus part, but we need to do the chorus where the crowd takes over the goddamn song. Here it is. Here's In Hiding. Guys, wow. Sometimes a band can make the song, but other times a crowd can take it over. Whoa. For a song, again, it's another they're not playing hits at the show. It's another kind of deep cut song off of Yield. It is a sneaky fan favorite, but the crowd just goes insane.
We've seen Pearl Jam crowds go crazy at every point of the set. This is something a lot bigger. So hearing this so early In Hiding and hearing this crowd reaction sets a better tone than I think any tone we've ever set in a set before on this show. I mean, this might be the winner.
We've been to so many shows, and Matt, we talk about just as much as we talk about the show that we've been to, we talk about the people that have been around us. Do you remember the MSG show with Ted Cruz guy?
I was hoping we'd never have to talk about him ever again.
Well, here's what I'm saying here, that you get you go to shows and you go to MSG and you go to Fenway and you go to these big shows, and sometimes you're not going to sit next to the biggest. I sat next to somebody at a show once that before the show told me I just bought my ticket on StubHub for $300 today. I'm like, okay, cool, buddy. And then he sat there, didn't stand the whole time. He sat there with his arms crossed and didn't move until Jeremy.
9 times out of 10, I've been next to a dud, and it's very depressing.
It is. I think even at Fenway, the people, the ones to the right of me were like, oh, we won these tickets somehow. And I'm just like, why are...
You remember the people in front of us and to our left were...
Oh, they were
unbelievable. So
insane.
I thought we got lucky at Fenway.
We did do good, especially for not actually having those tickets. So yeah, my point on this is that this is the one time that you can go to a show and you can look around you and every single person is going to know every single song, and it's almost like you're going to some kind of Catholic school where everybody is studying the same thing and believes the same thing as you. You know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, and I think even if people are bringing, say, girlfriends, wives, husbands, boyfriends, brothers, sisters, cousins, neighbors, their mailman, whoever it might be, even if they're not the biggest Pearl Jam fan, they're with somebody who is, and I think they're going to respond to that. So there's
Feed
not
off
going
the
to be
energy.
yeah, there's not going to be anybody there that's not going to be having a good time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course not. No, I wouldn't expect that. But I think that it's more than just having a good time. It's just being able to appreciate every minute in the moment. Anything stat wise on this, Dave? Is there anything good to juicy to talk about with this?
No, it's right around the slot it normally would be during the show. It's incredible. So far that this is right around what they would normally do so far. I've been listening to you guys. I'm listening to the podcast, and I hear you guys saying, "Oh, well, this is right around where it's supposed to be. This is where it's really good." And I go, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, you're right. This is around that slot. I did like a sliding thing of like 4 songs here, 4 songs there, and yep, this song is at most at this spot in the set.
You just, after a while, you go to shows and trends, little intros, ways that they do things. I think I mentioned a couple shows ago that they do something with corduroy sometimes where they have like a little feedback and then they start plucking in the corduroy. And if you don't go to a lot of shows, like, you don't anticipate that, but if you've been to those shows, they've done it before. You listen to the Boots over and over and over again, you're going to hear that little tease, and you're going to and that you study these things, you keep going on, and it's just, this is one of the beauties of doing the podcast, that we can kind of see things that we've seen before and never seen before. And all right, moving forward here, we're only into the 5th song, and we're getting Parachutes, and man, this is kind of like the elderly woman spot here. The cool down, and for a song like Parachutes, probably, if I were to guess, Dave, the most rare that you would hear off of Avocado.
It is, and I would just like to say, yuck, not my favorite song. I think this really kind of killed the mood, but I know you guys are a little bit fans of Avocado, right? So
Yeah, I love it.
I like it too. So
no, I do agree with you that does it do justice taking the spot of elderly woman here? No, it's not what I would have chosen, but I mean, it doesn't sound bad either. So I can't really knock it that much because they play it well. I guess that's all I could ask for? Question mark? I don't know.
well, it's funny because I for 22 times I think they've played it. It's mostly an encore song, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right on that, Dave?
Oh yeah, it's normally an encore one. It's actually it's a cool down. It has been played 9 times in the main set, but it's been 13 times in encore one.
Yeah, that's kind of the spot that I thought that it was best in, and hearing it here, yeah, for this kind of show, I think it is a good cool down, and it's a lot bouncier and quicker than the album version. Um, I grew into the song. I like it.
It definitely is a little poppier here, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, Dave, send out just a little side stat. I think Big Wave has 8 more plays over this song. Am I right?
It does.
It makes Parachutes a little bit more rare than My White Whale.
Yeah, off the album, Parachutes has been played at 6.5% of the shows since its debut, and Big Wave is played at 8.9% of shows since its debut.
Oh boy, I like those odds.
This is big. So you're gonna go to the show, you get a 9%.
And how many times has it been played on an ocean?
Yeah.
They're always playing in like San Diego or something like that.
Hawaii or something.
Yeah, right.
Well, last time it was played in Ottawa, so I think you're a little off on that. So.
Oh, jeez. Then what the hell, man? There's no excuse.
So I have to mention that many people in the audience were calling Ed looking up to the balcony during the song because Jill and I believe Harper is his eldest, and I believe she's alive at this time, and a 3 or 4 year old at the time, and he's looking up there and he's playing to them, and everybody said it was a pretty sweet moment. So whether you like the song or not, Eddie is doing it for a reason. So the next one I think is the biggest waste of a live song ever, but it's a transition, and that's all it'll ever be. I'm open. This song sucks. It's not even a song.
Yeah,
It's
definite.
just a nothing.
This is a definite transition moment. I don't really have anything to say about it.
It's the fourth time they've ever played it.
I mean,
And
it's probably my least favorite moment of. Hold on, I'm just looking through the set. Yeah, it's about my least favorite moment of the entire night. So at least it's short and out of the way.
yeah, what I'm curious to know because I've actually seen this twice, believe it or not, and they were both MSG shows. I think one was intro to the next song that we'll talk about in a second, Wish List, and the other was the intro transition into Unthought Known, which are very similar beginnings that are very strummy. Um, what out of all 13 times, and I know they've done Moline, so one of those times has to be around the bend. What has this been the transition to the most?
Transition the most song after is I Got Shit.
Really?
3 times. 3 times, and also it's been a true intro once where they just blended right into I Got Shit. And 2 times Unthought Known was the next song after.
So, even though I don't really like I'm Open that much, I thought it worked well as a transition into Wish List. I thought it was seamless at least. Uh, Wish List is probably one of the other songs on besides Why Go on the set that you hear more often, and but it works here. I think it works in the environment. I'm just not a huge fan of Wish List.
Yeah, Wishlist would probably be my least favorite part of the night if it wasn't preceded by I'm Open. But like I said, it sounds fine, so I can't really get mad at it. But it's definitely not my favorite song.
I mean, it picks up the tempo a little bit, I think, from I'm Open. I mean, even the guys didn't like I'm Open. It took them 331 shows to play it live since it came
Wow.
So,
That
And they
says
still
something.
don't even do the song. It's just them repeating "I'm open" 100 times. It's not,
right.
with a room with no doors, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't even know what those lyrics are. That's my most skipped song on any album. But this is funny here. This is something that you don't need a stat tracker website to figure out numbers for. Ed changes the lyrics to under 1,000 hands up raised, which Ed can't do math because if there are 1,000 hands, if there are 1,000 people there, then there are double amount of hands. So it has to be 2,000 hands up raised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed can't do math. And moving on. Here's where you get down, Matt. You love down.
Thanks.
And we're only at 3 Lost Dogs here, but something sounds a little wrong with Stone's guitar. Most part, it sounds like it should, and the crowd's into it. But Lost Dogs on this show, we got 5 or 6 of them. Is that right?
6.
6. That's including Dead Man. I don't think I was including Dead Man before. What's is this the most Lost Dogs that they've ever played in a show, or is that award given to another show?
No, there are actually 2 other shows that have 7 Lost Dogs.
Wow. What shows would those be?
Wells Fargo, 2005, and Telnor Arena 2014.
Huh. What I don't what location is that in 2014?
Shit.
I've never heard of that before. That's got to be somewhere in
That's
Europe.
somewhere
right?
in Europe. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then I think that's
Which I
enough
probably butchered the name right there, but I don't know. Somebody will be calling you guys up saying that guy got it wrong.
Yeah, somebody does every week. Somebody does every week. Anything on down? Again, it sounded like Stone was off a little bit, but most part it sounded okay.
Yeah, it sounds like Down. I like it. I like that it's become a little less of a rare and a little bit. I feel like we've covered it a bunch of times, which I really appreciate. So I'll never get sick of it. To be honest, I'm never gonna get sick of the song.
Well, you like Down and I like Sad. We at least both get a piece of the pie today. So
I love Sad. Don't get me
no,
wrong.
I know,
about that.
but you prefer Down.
I prefer Down. It's just a quick, great rock song.
Right. Yeah. Another Lost Dog here. This is probably the rarest of the songs that are at this show tonight. And it's not really the best performance of it, but we're going to play it anyway because we don't know when we're going to cover it again. Let's hear Undone. I don't know if it's the recording or not, but I wasn't. There must be a reason why they don't play it live a lot because it didn't click here. It didn't click to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It comes off as one of those songs that just doesn't translate well live. I guess there are some songs that are really good for albums and really good for studio. And
you think this would be better if Eddie, and I know what your answer is probably going to be, if Eddie did this as like a solo, because it's more of an acoustic-y type song.
I'm not sure. My verdict is going to be out on that one.
Yeah, and we may never get a chance to see it, but I think the idea of playing it this night is the right idea. I think the song, when you're thinking about it in a grand scheme, is it fits kind of the tone for the night, but yeah, it's just there is a reason why they don't play it a lot, and it's the third time ever played out of 5. Dave, it's only been played once in this decade. This is just kind of yuck, right?
184 shows since it's last been seen, and it's right below Dead Man. It's number 7 on the list. So it's since 2010. Yeah, and this is actually it's not, for me, it's not a bad song. It's actually going to be turning into one of my white whales now because I ended up not going to a show I could have heard it back in 2010. That was the last time it was played. So I had to get married the day before, so I couldn't go there. So
why'd you do that?
I know what happened.
I'm hearing excuses here. I'm kidding. That's yeah. Congratulations. It was a bad joke.
8 years ago. Congratulations.
Yeah, all right.
So
no, but my brother went to the show. My brother went to the show, and now I'm going to be chasing that because he saw it. He could hold that over me, going, "I heard that song."
Yeah, that's. I see. There's usually my jealousy of like I have to go to every show and I have to hit checklists and get the serious collector songs. I blame Steve a lot for that because Steve,
Yeah, I was just gonna blame Steve for something too.
yeah, just because he's been to so many and like it was just such an easy influence and when he talks about I was at the Gorge and I was at this and at that I of course I'm saying if you go to PJ20 without me I'm never gonna live it down so
Yeah.
um
Well, and,
well,
speaking of brothers being total jerks, he loves to tell me about the time he saw. I think it was in California where he saw them do Big Wave, and Eddie crowd surfed and he caught him. So Steve holds that over my head.
I think he wants to do that episode too.
It's fine with me. We're just gonna have some technical difficulties when he tells us that story, and it's not going to make it into the podcast. That's going to be how I get him back.
Matt, do you have any guesses as to what the longest in hiding song? And I've been trying to think about this. What's the longest song in hiding right now?
Like up to right now.
Yeah, like what's been delayed? I'm gonna say it's probably not Dirty Frank, right? Right, Dave?
No.
I'm trying to think of what could be the longest song though. Is it? How about this? I think I have a really good guess. Is it Just a Girl?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I knew it. Okay. How many shows since the last time they played it?
1,027. Last played in 1991.
Wow. So if they bring that back, that's a serious O face there.
Yeah, that one blows everything out of the water.
Was that up in Vancouver?
Canada, eh? Yes, it was.
Canada, eh? I just pulled it up here. I was curious.
Town Pump.
So roll through them real quick. What's the top 5 songs that they've been sitting on?
Just a Girl, Get Right, Arc, Dirty Frank, Bush Leaguer.
What was the third one? I don't think I heard
You say
it.
Arc?
Arc.
Oh, Arc.
Arc would have been my guess.
Yeah, Arc is tough because they have a cap limit on that. That's they did the 9 times and that's it.
Yeah.
Even though Eddie has done that at a solo show, so you can't really count it.
Doesn't count.
Nope. Get Right is interesting though. That's an interesting one. Not a very good live song, so I totally understand it, but very interesting. All right. Off He Goes is next, and I had originally I don't think I'm going to get into all this crap now. I had originally written that I was getting on this tangent of like, maybe this is too much of a hipster Pearl Jam set where it's just like they're just catering so much to the fans that are there and like kind of like an FU to anybody that couldn't get in and get a ticket because they were just going to go and do everything rare. They weren't going to play Better Man. They weren't going to play Jeremy. They weren't going to play Daughter. They weren't going to play all this stuff. And I was going to get into this tangent, but I don't feel like that vibe is there for this.
Now that we're talking about it, you're seeing that differently now, right?
I guess so. Yeah. I just don't feel like talking negatively about it.
I didn't really agree with that. This is such a different type of situation that they probably just they don't want to do the hits, and I think at the end of the night the crowd probably doesn't even look back and go, "Oh, we missed Even Flow tonight."
Right. I think one of the stories that we'll share later kind of touches up on just quote unquote obnoxious fans that again like the hipster version of a Pearl Jam fan that will say like, oh, I don't want to hear stuff from 10 anymore just because they've heard it before. And we've talked about it, just because it's rare doesn't mean it works in a certain moment. Sometimes they can play all Common songs and it can be an awesome kick-ass show too. But
Definitely.
yeah, I think that conversation, I was really going to go on a tangent about it, especially with the next song after Off He Goes, but I got I don't have to do it anymore because I think that's just wasting a lot of and time and energy.
A
And
little bit of, and you've had a little bit of a change of heart, I
I
think.
think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you write stuff down and then you know, kind of the pressing send, you kind of write it and then you're saying to yourself, okay, do I really want to press send? Do I want to show the world what I say? And then you look at it, and you're like, you know what, that doesn't make any sense. So that's essentially what I have to say. Off he goes here, though. Do you like it? Good spot.
I mean, I can't even talk. I can't even talk about spots here. I can't.
Yeah,
I like
I
it. I
know.
like it. Yeah, but it's everything is strange. So, but that's what's adding into the charm. So, yeah, strange. I love it.
Everything is strange. However, this is the spot that is played most. 15th spot.
Really? So I'm guessing that was a lot back in like the no code touring days, right? Because nowadays we'll hear this more in an encore one when they do kind of like their cool down in an encore one, but during like no code days where they do it because we haven't covered no code yet.
Actually, I can't tell you. It started at 15 times or 11 times at slot 15, and then 11 at 18, and then it starts going up from there. So you're right, it starts moving into the encores, but probably it was back in the early days before they found its position.
I think the weirdest spot that I've seen, Fenway, not this past Fenway, but the one before that, they played it I think second or third.
Hmm.
There was some weird, yeah. The opening sequence was like Pendulum, which was very common, and then Nothing as It Seems and Off He Goes were like 2 and 3. I can't remember which one was 2, which one was 3, but I was so convinced that because Jeff kept holding the stand up bass the whole time. I'm like, okay, just play Nothing Man, just play Nothing Man. This is where Nothing Man's supposed to go.
Yeah,
And
right.
they waited like another 2 or 3 songs before they actually did it. But I was like, so I was sitting there like anticipating it, and then they end up doing Off He Goes. I'm like, no, this doesn't really belong here, but cool. I'm never going to say no to it. I kind of see this is kind of like an encore one sort of situation here. Off He Goes, Hard to Imagine. They're both songs that, are played in different spots. I know you said it's mostly played in the 15 spot, but middle of a set like this, nowadays, I guess a little less. Hard to Imagine, usually an opener or in the encore. Am I right on that?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's normally set opener, but core of the time. Yeah, either main set or encore one.
And I think it works. Again, like it's just the little quirks that the show has is just it makes it special. That's
I think what this show accomplishes in a lot of different spots is that when you're not getting your classic songs in the spots that you're used to them, that it shows you that a lot of these rarer songs that are thrown into encores or openers, it shows you where they could work in other spots too.
yeah, it's experimenting, and
Yeah,
they don't, for as much as they change things up, they don't do a lot of real scientific experimentations. They don't try to take a song completely out of its wheelhouse.
you mean in like a regular set?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they would never do most of these songs in those spots at a
yeah.
regular
I mean,
show.
but
That's
and you know, for me that I don't care about that at all. If they want to open with even flow, open with even flow. If they want to
it just has to work.
if they want to do a live, in the first set, do a live in the first set. Set construction with things that have found quote unquote sweet spots, that makes no difference to me at all. Even flow doesn't have to be in a certain spot. It's all about how it works as a full set. That's what's important to me.
I think it works here, and I think that most of everything just works here because I think you're in awe of what you're hearing, and The next song is another stat that you can't get from Live Footsteps. You can only get right here at Live on Four Legs because it's been 5 shows since we've covered a binaural song.
That is our own personal stat right there. Yeah.
Yup, yup. I believe it was the Reading show that Soon Forget was on.
I think so. Yeah, I was looking back because I thought it had been longer since we had covered a binaural song.
I mean, it's felt like forever.
I know, and this is only episode 14, but I could have sworn it was like, yeah, we've gone about 12 episodes since we've covered one. You just don't see them.
Goals for the new year are absolutely close to the top of our list. Is get some binaural shows in there. It's 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 funny because I think a lot of people that write in are very into the good old days and they're into the '90s and they want to relive those and us not really being from that era want to sort of discover those, and that's what we discovered first. But like now that we've really gotten verses and Vitalogy, we've got a good grip on those and gotten like the introduction phases of those. Now we want to get the introduction phases of Binaural and Riot Act and No Code and Yield, and I think those will, as a hint, I don't know really what we're doing yet, but we want to do them.
Yeah, I always attribute those times like, Yield and binaural, those the late 90s, the very early 2000s is like I don't want to say a darker time, but definitely a strange time. And I think we could get some really good shows out of like binaural centric set lists. So I'm very interested to see where that would take us.
Agreed. And since we haven't gotten a binaural song in a while, I think we need to play it, and I think the fans need to enjoy it. So here is God's Dice. Man, I don't know how good of a stat or what kind of stat there would be on this, but is Binaural the least played album of all of them in, percentage wise or something like that? It certainly feels like it.
And let me look up the stat.
Let's go to the website.
Yeah, it feels, especially maybe even in 2018 or the last like 3 or 4 years, you're maybe averaging under or around, hovering around one binaural song per show. Let me put it this way: I've only seen 5 binaural songs.
All right, so 161 times they play a show with only one song from binaural. So pretty.
Oh my god.
So pretty much 15%, or probably a little bit less, but 15% of your shows have only one song by binaural.
Wow, that's unbelievable, and I wonder, and you don't have to look this up or anything like that, but I wonder how difficult it is in this day and age to just hear 2 binaural songs in one show. Because it's funny, midway through the European tour, they really got on this Riot Act kick, and they played Ghost at a show. They played Help Help 1 or 2 times. UR got in there a lot, and they were on this kick where they were really doing a lot of Riot Act, and it was the first time in a long time that I've seen multiple Riot Act shows played at one Riot Act songs played at one show, and I don't remember the last time if I ever saw two binaural songs played the same night at all.
I have I just checked. I have 8 binaural songs. I thought it was going to be a lot less than that.
But you also went to a show during that tour, right?
Yeah,
Well, you
I
think you
don't.
did.
I wish I remembered it. Oh no, I know I did. That was confirmed, but my memory will not confirm it. I was just a little baby boy.
You haven't crossed off. Yes, I was going to say you haven't crossed off binaural yet.
Not even close.
No.
Yeah.
That Toronto show, where they did the full thing, man, that was days after the MSG show where we were saying they have to do a full album at MSG because they did one in Philly. It's only fair, and they go out at MSG and they play two what I thought were pretty basic nights.
Well, not to mention, Randy, we went on the 10-year to the day anniversary of Avocado, which they hadn't done yet. So figures that they did no Avocado that night, right?
Not even a reprise. Jeez. They did Avocado this night, and that's
Speaking of Avocado,
speaking of Avocado, Worldwide Suicide. Man, this is like I've said it before. This song is like basically you have a best friend for years and years and years, and for some reason they look at you the wrong way one day, and you're just like, "Fuck you, man! I don't want to hang out with you anymore." And that's what they did to Worldwide Suicide. Maybe, and like they played a couple times in like 2012, 2014, like here and there. They haven't played it in a long time, but it's kind of like seeing that same kid that you were best friends in walking down the hallway and just kind of grazing over at him. You don't have class with him anymore, and you're just like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, okay. And that's kind of what Worldwide Suicide's become. But at this point, it's like their most common song off Avocado.
yeah, and the difference is, the friend that you dropped might be a total dick, and Worldwide Suicide is actually a good song and a great song to hear live. So,
Exactly.
So yeah, you're right. But yeah, we're only talking about a year later, so I guess it would have still been in rotation. But it is kind of ironic that it's in a rare set, right? Because of how they have dropped it. So it still fits in the show.
Yeah. Anything on the stats here, Dave, with just the history of this song?
They started out 5 times when they started playing the song as the opener for a show.
Which that's a good gauge of what they think about it. What the
They
fans
thought it was great, and it kind of dropped off significantly. And also this is at the 18 slot right now. And normally they play it like I said, opener. 99 times it was played between 1 and 10. This is pretty late.
Wow.
And it's pretty late, and I think it's all been bumped just because of all these different songs trying to fit them in there, different slots and stuff.
It was Worldwide Suicide was the opener for the Irving Plaza show that I was at, as a matter of fact.
A lot of people argue that they think that Worldwide Suicide should have opened the album over Life Wasted.
I still remember it that way. It's like one of those Mandela effects. If you ask me what's the first song on Avocado, I will 100% every time tell you Worldwide Suicide and not Life Wasted. And I it's wrong, but that's just how I remember it.
Hey, they're rocking at this point. It sounds good, and it's a fan favorite. And although it won't see the light of day for a while after this, it's certainly hot at this point. And then they go into Rats, and man, Rats has a really weird history live, doesn't it, Dave?
I don't know what you want me to say about that.
Well, I'm just saying it's for a song that's been around at this point. It had been around for 14 years, and it's only been played 35 times. That's something's off to me on that, right? Am I right about that? I know it's a deep cut, but
Yeah, 59 times. This
seems like around the right time, like 3 or 4 or 5 songs before they end a set. Is that about right?
It's been all over the set list. I mean, it's been, between 1 and 5, 6 and 10. It's been all the way up, and mostly it's in the main set. It's been played in the encore a few times, and even in the second encore. But it seems like it's a utility song you could be put anywhere.
Yeah, like they just toss it in. It's just seems like that kind of song, or they have no place for it at all.
Now, 98 to 2006. If you were a fan of Rats, you aren't getting it. 228 shows. They brought it back in Albany of all places. There's probably no stat on what Albany did to deserve Rats for the first time in 8 years, but that's just how it went. Eddie brought out a W mask during this. The talking about Bush, it's a little weird because, of course, the recent news about his father is hovering. So, but this is a time where Bush presidency it's coming to a conclusion, and somebody actually during this screams out Obama, and I don't think it was a thanks Obama, because that wasn't the thing yet. But Ed mentions Mr. W here, and he talks about BP dumping chemicals into Lake Michigan, and the way he's talking about it, it's like he's sort of alerting the fans to what's going on. And I mean, this was a much bigger deal, and maybe it wasn't. It was a much bigger deal because it was done in the Gulf Coast. But I mean, this was so big it was parodied on South Park. We're sorry. Like, I feel like at this point it might have been the early stages of finding out that what they were doing uh, at BP. Does that sound right? The way he was talking about the story, at least.
Yeah, well, I think it was more of a lead up because I think that Deepwater oil spill that was 2010, so this would have been a few years
Oh,
before that. But who knows if this was like a track record of BP leading up to it? Which in that case, you could almost say Eddie gave a pretty goddamn good fair warning.
exactly. Kind of like global warming. It exists, people. Next one is Gone, and I write here. This is for you, Matt. It's a lot of good guacamole on this show.
Le
Yeah, no
Guac.
waves. Good guac, no waves. And yeah, all I wrote down for this is just saying it's a waste of time to say what works in the set and what doesn't, because never going to happen again, never happened before, and you just really don't know what to predict at this point. So
Yeah, I thought. What was I going to say about this? I was going to say something. I think mainly throughout this whole night, we've been more talking about where things are and a lot of stats on stuff, and less about performance on this one. But yeah, it was mostly because I didn't really have a lot of notes on performances. I thought everything was really tight. I think it was on Gone though. I thought it was a little boring. I might be thinking of the wrong song for the night, but if it was Gone, which I think it was, I remember it not really blowing me away, and I really, really liked the song. And I remember being just a little bit disappointed with this one, but
this doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get its real due live. It didn't back then. Uh,
I feel like it always needs just a little bit more of a push for some. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe this might be another one for me that doesn't translate that well live either.
I guess. Uh, Anything on this, Dave? Is there anything interesting with God? I know it's kind of sort of in the middle of those avocado tracks.
No, they 90% of the time it was like an earlier in the set, and then more recently they moved it right around this slot. Back here it was in the 20 slot, and now they moved it back up to like the 19, the 21 again. And the last time I was played was Moline. That's
So that's
Mm,
yeah, that's going on 4 years now. So
yeah.
So, of course, we get all these really, really rare songs you'll never hear again, uncommon fan favorites. So, to close out the set, we're going to get something really crazy, right? We're going to get Other Side or Dirty Frank or
Yeah, I
like,
wasn't ready for this one.
Why Go?
I go. But Randy, finally, I like it. And finally, this is where I like it. So
I love Why Go
yes,
ending a set. Yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree with
yeah.
that too. You know,
Because
it's
with Why Go and Animal, for me, it's I struggle with those. But perfect. Here we go. Let's do it.
yeah. This is easily the song that was played the most during you know that they've ever played the most that was played at the show. I don't even have to look at any statistical websites to know that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's by the hundreds. Am I right on that?
Oh, this is
Like this is probably played like 450 times, and
you're right around there. Yeah,
okay,
445.
445.
445.
Oh my god, damn! I was 5 off. I I might be looking at these stats too much. I need a Christmas break. Yeah, they're not gonna close a set with Rival or Habit or anything really weird. So if this was the only 10 song, and if they were to do something, you know, I wouldn't say obscure because it's not obscure at all, but it's not. It was never a single. It was never a hit. So yeah, throw it in. The fans chant it. They love it, and it's a good way to send them off happy into the next part of the set.
I was gonna say they've actually closed the main set with Why Go 36 times.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, but it's one of those things. If you're really deep into your stats and you've been to a couple hundred, you can say like, okay, now I'm not just fishing for songs. I'm fishing for placements. So I really want to hear them close a set with Why Go.
If you really want to do it that way, yeah, sure.
All right,
You gotta have fun.
I'm just
Some fun with that.
That might start to drive you absolutely crazy getting specific like that. But I know it's what you're going to start doing now, Randy.
no comment. Let's
Exactly.
move on and move forward.
You won't have any money in your wallet because you'll be going on so many shows, but
Uh, the next time they go on tour,
I went to every single show on this tour to see them end with Why Go, and they only did it one time. That's going to be Randy
Imagine
in
that.
2020.
Imagine that. And you know what? You're gonna be like, but they played Brandon J every night. I would have been like, yeah, but man, they didn't close the mic out.
They didn't close with Why Go, so
They
it
closed
doesn't
the
matter.
porch.
so
I
disappointed.
didn't want that.
So disappointing.
Encore time. We've talked about this before. Back the other Chicago show that we did. It was wee back in our third episode doing 2009 night 2 of United Center, and Thomas Young, who is a veteran of the Iraq War. He's in attendance in that show. He's not in attendance there. He's in attendance for Lollapalooza, but Ed talks about him here. And really, we've talked about the whole situation before. We talked about the song before. They opened the encore with No More, and I really, I appreciate the sentiment, and the problem is I just don't get a buzz from it. I don't really care for the song.
Yeah, I like it. I like it more because people will get into the moment and they sing along, and it's very catchy, very sing along type of chorus. I like it for that. Beyond that, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I don't even think it's as catchy as other songs. I just think it's
Oh
just
no, no,
kind of
it definitely is not. It's just it's one of those ones where you're singing along to it. It could be very catchy because you're singing with everybody, and it's just a very nice melody in that part.
yeah. What spoiled it for me was the first 2 shows I ever went to. They did this in the exact same spot, and like in the opening an encore, or second song or third song in an encore, and I was just like, I wanted something else. And no, I've never seen it since, and I don't think they've played it since about like 2009 or 2010. But Oh, okay. Here's my comment on it. This was really funny. Even if I like the message, it's too much peace, love, hippie. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Right. Yes. Yes.
I think that's the best way to put it. So
Yeah, it was 2008, right? They did those the back to back in Madison Square Garden, right?
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that's right.
They might have
Okay.
done it both nights. I know they did like Who You Are and WMA both of those nights, and all
Right.
like yeah, we'll cover those later at some point. But uh, yeah, I got no more on no more. Inside Job. I I think they're off on. I don't think this sounds good. I think this is the first time all night I'm just like, ugh, something
No, and
something's
they
off.
seem to have audio issues too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the beginning.
Something's amiss. I mean, which sucks because I love the song.
it sounds like in the encore and a couple of the songs in the encore, it sounds like Boom isn't hearing the band because he's a step behind them.
It sounds everything sounds a little off, a little bit behind. I don't know if that's like what Dave said, if that was an audio thing, like a tracking thing, or if it was if it was actually they're playing. Something was off for sure.
Yeah, this not the best version of it, but this is probably my favorite spot. This is probably a pretty common spot for it, Dave. If I were to
It's
if I
pretty
were to
common.
guess,
It's a little late in the set, but it's right around
uh,
where
yeah,
it needs to be.
I want to hear it again. I've only heard it once, and I think it was that first show. And I want to hear it again. And it's one of those that really grows on you after a while. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people, you know, first of all, Mike should have tried to sing the song because this is his baby. This is what's going to be his not legacy if you're looking at it from a music journalist perspective, but legacy if you're looking at it as a fan perspective. Everyone's going to be like, this was Mike's breakout moment where he finally did something that wasn't a solo. He spoke from the heart for the first time for such hardships that he had. We really found Mike's soul. Rise and fix my broken soul again. It perfectly describes what he went through throughout his time with the band, and I you know, it's such a great song. So I don't know. That's what I have on it. I don't know if I'm if there's any follow up to that.
I don't have anything.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
that I wish it had sounded a little better. A
Yeah.
little bit of a shaky encore to an otherwise pretty tight night.
Yeah. All right. This is out of everything. This is the most. This is. I'm so interested to talk about this right now because I feel like this could be the rest of the show if we had to. Let's play it first, and then we will talk about it. But this is a song that was not very common at this point. But nowadays, you're like, how the hell do we get rid of it off a set? So if you're thinking to yourself, what could it be? Here it is.
Clouds roll by. Reeling is what they say, or is it just my way? Wind blows by, blow by. I try, blow like and see my tracks. Your assembly.
So although this isn't the best version of the song, it's a talking point, so we have to play it. Uh, this is a great opportunity to discuss its live history with the band. So more than any other song in their discography, it just absolutely fascinates me. The first time they played it was what, 2000 or 2001? One of those years?
2001. Yeah, October 21st, 2001.
So it wasn't even, it was 3 years after Yield came out, which a lot of those songs were just kind of ignored. Pilot was ignored, No Way was ignored, all those Yesterdays ignored, or very rarely played, but Lowlight wasn't even touched until then. And now that we see it today, this is it's in like the 2 or 3 spot every show. This is, you go to a show and you're expecting Lowlight if you're getting an all-star show. So and it's kind of been that way, I want to say, since like maybe in between Backspacer and Lightning Bolt. So really what I want to know, and I hope you have something calculated here.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do.
What a stupid question, Randy.
Well, I did kind of email him like 5 times about this one. I would love to know the percentage of times that they played this before Vic Theater, including, and then what they did with it afterward. So chat me up here. How did this live history go with Lowlight?
So it took them 146 shows to play it live after the album was released. And then, since then, 4.5% of the shows you may get it. And then after this show, 22.5%. So almost
That's
a quarter.
A huge percentage.
Almost a quarter of your shows we're coming up on. You're gonna hear this.
We've kind of talked about it before, just like how it's amazing. How did it just fall into favor just like that? Is it one of those where, after a while they play it, this was the 19th time, so maybe they play it the 19th time, then they play it the 20th, they play it the 21st, and they're like, you know what, we're starting to really feel this, and we have Boom on the organ now, so it really sounds good. I just, I always felt like the song should have been a staple to begin with off of Yield, but it's just funny how things kind of end up.
And you know that it is, or always was, one of my favorite songs, and is still one of my favorite songs to hear live. Yeah, man. I'm so glad they finally woke up on it, I guess you could say. And of course, I'm proud that it's a Jeff song too, which, of course, I like as a bass player. But yeah, I just want to get back to it on this night. Not that great, and in fact, I thought Jeff was pretty bad on it. He usually hits those backup vocals that he wrote pretty well. They weren't great here, unfortunately, for me. So it was a little bit of a disappointment, but and also I don't like it here. I don't like it in this spot, in this encore here. I'm so used to it being like a 1 or 2, which is its new sweet spot. That's where it belongs.
You say that's where it belongs, but actually the first couple times that I saw it, it was more like in the elderly woman spot. It was like,
oh yeah,
7,
there was there was like a 9 or 10 in one of the MSG shows. I think it came after Even Flow, which is not good either. It was like, I think it was like Even Flow, Low Light Down. That's weird.
It's a little weird, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's
we'll get to that too.
Again, it took them a long time to really figure out what the song was, but now they trust this song so much now that it's an opener sometimes too.
Oh yeah, and I don't want it anywhere else. That's I think that's it. I think that's the sweet spot for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think number 3, this song in the number 3 spot is just about as perfect as you can get.
Oh no, I'm going to disagree. I think the number 1. I think Lowlight is a number 1 song. I think it's the best opener.
Oh, I see. Yep. I think it works so much better as a 2 or 3, but that's a show that we're going to do in 2 weeks. So
right.
We'll argue that then.
So I was gonna say, it's been at the 2 spot most of any other position.
Okay.
All right, so it splits the difference. We got the average there for I like it 1, you like it 3, and the average is 2. So
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
When I say I like it, yeah, I can't remember if I've seen it more 2 or 3, but either or, that's just, you see Pendulum so many times during that time period that you can't remember with their 3-song slow burn. You can't remember really what was what because, Pendulum bumps Release or sometimes to number 2, and then you get Low Light. So, there's it changes up a little bit, but Eddie asks for a spotlight on Kenny, and if you don't know who Kenny is, he is the organ player that everybody knows as Boom. I just think it's funny to kind of call him Kenny sometimes. And they do Love Rain Over Me. It's the second time that they had ever played it. Again, Boom might not be hearing somebody right because this performance is just a little off. And they've done it 25 times. And I was alluding to this earlier that this was one of the ones where I think they've gotten better, a lot better at doing this one over time. And at this point, it didn't hit home yet.
It's not bad. It's okay.
Eddie cracks a little bit.
Yeah,
This is one Eddie has to be really confident to play this.
It's kind of strange. They're showing a little bit of wearing a little bit here after a pretty tight night and a pretty good, pretty rockin' night too. But it's also not really a long night, so I was a little surprised to hear this steam kind of getting let out in the encore.
You never know. Sometimes that energy it gets bottled up and then you lose it a little bit. So it's been a while since they've played this, right, Dave? They didn't play it in 2018.
Yeah, so 2016.
2016. Okay, so it shows that Eddie is this year was not very confident with it. He had some voice struggles this year, so it really became it. I would assume fall out of favor to other covers that he can handle a little better, but who knows? Maybe he'll feel better next year. Crowd is chanting something in between, and it's "Let's go," and I put ... I don't know. Don't know what it was. Mike and Stone are jamming a little bit though, and it goes right into Comatose. And
I was going to say, don't ask me what they were chanting because this is actually where the Pearl Jam bootleg site stopped working on me again.
Do you not know what they were saying?
No.
I don't know. No, do you?
Let Stone sing.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Okay.
That makes sense now.
They wanted Stone to sing.
I thought it was "Let's Go" something. Oh, man. How can I be so silly? Jeez. Let Stone sing.
Of course.
Yeah. And they did not.
Nope.
Unless he did some backups.
And you don't even get Better Man, so he's not even singing in that.
Nope. So you get Comatose though, and really confident and ballsy to go from Love Rain Over or Me to Comatose this late in the set. You can tell when it's a good Comatose and when it's a bad Comatose, because when he comes up to the bridge and he's out of breath, that's not a good Comatose. That shows that he lost it. He's done for the night.
Comatose is a really strange one. I love it, but I feel like it has the tendency to be really bad more than it's good live. I'm not not unlistenable, but off maybe.
I think it's easy to mess up because
they mess it up all the time.
Yeah, it's just so fast, and I think it's hard to. I think they want to play it because it's such a rocker and it's such a feel good song that I always want to hear it, but
Absolutely.
It's easy for somebody to lose pace, especially like when Mike is playing that that little in between part in between the verse and the chorus. he's usually a little off pace with that, because if they're a little faster, he has to play that solo a little faster.
His solo is not always great on that one too.
No.
I think it's been a couple years since that song has been excellent live.
I'll have to agree with you there.
But keep playing it. Listen, even if it sucks, I still want it.
Yeah. Ed's a mess at the end.
I was gonna say, what do you think of it at Fenway, the last Boston show?
That was a mess.
It was a little bit of a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only time they played it in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what my memory was going off of as an example, even though we've seen them do it poorly a few times doing the podcast. So, yeah, I don't know. But I want them to keep playing it.
There's one interesting thing about Comatose in this set. It's the only song from this set that they played Fenway this year. In the last show. In the last show of
that's
Boston.
Next level shit.
That's the only song. You compare the two, Comatose is the only song that they played on the 4th.
Wow.
This podcast has been taken to new levels for this episode. We are next level on this episode.
The numbers never lie. The numbers never lie.
I mean, geez, they didn't even play live or even Flow or Porch at this show. But
no.
But they do Comatose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Comatose, that would be the last one I would expect. I know Low Light they did the first night, and I think Why Go they did the first night.
Yep. Low Light, Why Go, Down.
Yep. But man, that's crazy. So during the middle of this, he mentions Keith Wismar, who we've mentioned on the show before, because he's mentioned him before. He passed away last year, but he worked with so many people, from Soundgarden to Neil to Ben Harper, and kind of dedicates the next one to him. Take one, Black Diamond. Matt Mr. Effin is on the microphone, but you cannot hear him during the intro, where he's supposed to say, out on the street for a minute. You don't hear him at all, and all you hear is Eddie go, ooh, and it's really awkward. So they go into it, and they start to play it, and the band is just complete, utterly out of it. Complete mess. They've never done this before. They abort it, laugh it off, and you almost assume that they're not going to go back to it. Doesn't sound like at first that they're going to go back to it, but they do. And we're going to play it because they eventually get it, and I think for a lot of fans out there, they'll go back to this moment. They'll go back to MSG 2008, and then really recently, we'll get to that in a second, the last time that they played it. So here is a Kiss cover dedicated to Matt, who's the biggest Kiss fan on this podcast right now, Black Diamond. All right, take two.
Randy, I assume when you said Matt, the biggest Kiss fan, you were talking about Matt Cameron, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Not me.
Yeah, he's on this podcast, right?
Okay. Yeah, he's right next to me.
Only 3 times ever played, and they played it MSG 2008, which was my first show. We talked about that like 8 times already in this show. We're going to wait 6 months to fucking cover it, but Ace Frehley was there doing it with them at that show, and then waited almost 10 years to the day before they brought it back again in Rome this past year. So
3 times, not much stats on that.
no.
And if we're lucky, they'll wait another 10 years before they play it again. Sorry, Matt Cameron, I love you, but
Would you
yikes.
rather hear Shout It Out Loud or Rock and Roll All Night and Part of Every Day?
Randy, don't misunderstand me. I'd rather not hear any Kiss song at all.
Not even in Part of Every Day?
How about is it Strutter? That one was pretty good. I'll give you that one.
Do you hate Beth? Like their love, their ballad?
Is that the one that Peter Criss sings?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, that one's not
but
good
I'm
either.
also not the biggest Kiss fan in the world, so I
didn't think you were.
Yeah. I got nothing on this except for I'm sure the Kiss fans in the audience are probably really excited, but Mike's guitar is incredibly low during the solo, and if you're out there hunting Kiss songs, and you were out there, then you got your whale. And I wasn't hunting Kiss songs at the show that we went to, but I got it anyway, so it's under my belt. Seeing Ace Frehley play with the band is something that you're not going to see anymore, so cool. Sonic Reducer, Dead Boys. Yeah, he has one song left after this, and he's lucky because he doesn't have anything left in his voice if he wants to move forth to Lollapalooza, and he's going to get some help with the song after this. First time played in 109 songs. My question is, and is there inconclusive evidence, is this the first song that Pearl Jam ever covered?
It is not, but
I have another guess of what it could be.
well, let's hear your other guess.
Is it Sitting on the Dock of the Bay?
No.
Okay. All right. Then I
And there is some inclusive evidence out there because there are a lot of set lists that are missing or incomplete and stuff like that. However, I've got a feeling September 28th, 1991 was what we have as the first cover.
That's really cool.
For a second, I thought you were saying, because you said inconclusive evidence, I thought you were saying, I've got a feeling, and I thought you were going to say, it was this.
I thought you were going to tell us what you were feeling.
I've got a feeling that it's... No. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, because that was...
That's really cool.
That was a B-side, I believe, off of 10, so that makes a lot of sense.
Sonic Reducer was actually covered almost for the first time a year later. September 8th, 1992. That was the first time.
That was my 5th birthday? Is that the 6th birthday? I can't do math.
6th birthday, yeah.
Cool.
We tied that in together like we love to do on this podcast.
Yeah. Just like we planned ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that sort of dead period where there's no records of anything that they did in random shows where they were opening in bars and stuff like that. Early 91. How many of those shows are out there?
There's about 58 shows.
Wow.
58 missing set lists out of 1,030 something.
So that's
pretty good.
That's like going on like an Indiana Jones type chase, like, you go into the library under the floorboard to go and find like a tomb or something like that. So this was the first set list. Then you're getting chased by Nazis or something like that.
I bet Stone has them at his house in like a folder, and just to be funny, isn't telling anybody that he's got them.
They're in his basement next to his Grammy, or they're next to his coffee mugs.
Yeah, he's got them. He's got them in like a filing cabinet with his, with his 2018 tax returns.
Sonic Reducer, he's losing it, but it's okay. It's getting towards the end of the night, and best friend Ben Harper it comes out to close the night with him, and he does Indifference, and it doesn't make a difference whether or not he does With My Own Two Hands with the song, because that's the best version, but it doesn't make a difference because we're going to play it anyway, because when Ben Harper joins Pearl Jam for a song, you play the fucking song.
So I won't be alone. Watch you shake outside. For soon that will be on. I will stand arms outstretched. Pretend I'm free to roam. I will make my way through one more day.
I think out of anybody that joins the band on a song, Ben Harper makes it his own, and it's so he doesn't try to be Pearl Jam like maybe some other people would, or like try to kind of assimilate to how the band is playing. He just tears it up, and he's just completely himself, and he does it in his own style, and I mean he does Indifference in his own shows. He did for a while, and it sounds so freaking good.
It's true. There's a difference between when Cheap Trick comes out and they do Surrender, or when Sting comes out and they did Driven to Tears, which was really great. I mean, I thought that was amazing. I thought that was a real surprise, and that was a lot of fun. But when Ben Harper comes out and he's singing on Indifference, it is haunting and really, really memorable. I had to go on YouTube and watch they have this is one of the videos that they have on YouTube for it. All the lights are down. Eddie's just kind of chilling out in the back. It's something. It's really cool.
Yeah. Again, it's not the best version, because
Not the best version, but
Live at the Garden is oof.
Yeah.
Boy,
but
is that good.
This is special in its own way, especially because you're getting Indifference as the closer, which I'm super jealous of. And then, Ben Harper comes out and he does still an amazing version. It's just it's a cool cap for the night.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to end it. At a big arena show, at a big anniversary show, you're gonna end the night with Ledbetter, and that seems appropriate. But here, your most kind of depressing, little mystical, but powerful song to end it with the crowd just going home happy with.
You finish it off with that campfire feel.
Yeah, agreed.
Bookend it.
So yeah, that's I think the fans really got a treat this night. And why don't we all rate the show? You want to go first? Should we let's let our guest go first?
Oh God, I was about to say, not me.
Yeah, you.
We gotta throw you under the bus a little bit here.
My!
Not like we didn't put you on the spot the entire episode or anything.
Dozens of times, yes. I'd probably give this probably an 8 Stickman. I think it deserves it. I mean, it's all over the place with set lists, rarities. It really you're probably never going to see these all again. At least not together, or even half of them. So I would say an 8.
Is this one of the most unique set lists that you can find on looking through your website, that you can just say, whoa, again, like you said, they'll never play these songs with each other again?
Oh yeah, definitely. These are not going to be, seen again. At least in the next 10 years, until they do another one of these or something. One of these, another secret shows or something.
Oh, who knows? Maybe it can happen soon, and maybe we'll all get a chance to go. Maybe it'll all just be live on Four Legs fans. Yeah, yeah. See if we can make that happen. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, so it basically took the words out of my mouth. It didn't really matter too much about construction for me on this one. Actually, it didn't matter at all. How do you really construct something like this? It's very special and one off, and I think it definitely is deserving of an 8. But you know me, I'm very performance driven. That's first and foremost. And I thought both the encores, sans indifference, was a little bit sloppy for me. So I'm gonna go 7.5, only because lost some steam really fast. I don't know why. So 7.5.
I'm gonna steal a quote from the stupid guy from that stupid show, on Storage Wars. It's the wow factor, man. It's the wow factor. That's what the show was. It was the wow factor, and people still talk about it to this day, and they won't stop talking about it. It's not just some regular old show in Halifax or some crap like that. It's special. It has its moments. It has its serious stunners, and it has not just that, but it has songs that you would hear like in Hiding or a Sad, more often than not, that sounded terrific, and it just had that environment that brought everybody together, like the campfire that we were saying before. I can't give it lower than an 8, but I can't give it higher than an 8 because I think that there were some technical and some performance issues, especially like Matt said and we talked about in the encore. The encore was really rough. As far as putting a set list together, as far as going out and trying to give the fans everything that maybe they had dreamed of at one point or wouldn't have ever expected. I think they accomplished that goal, and I think that they knocked it out of the park on that aspect. And while, you know, I had some negative thoughts in my mind ahead of time that maybe they should have spliced in a hit or two, it doesn't matter because, again, never going to do this again. So why not do it to its full extent? Go all out and kill it. And that's what they did. And the fans got a show out of it.
I think you just needed to talk about it and get some of those stats along
Probably.
with the set breakdown. I think because I didn't want to feel that way, missing hits and missing fan favorites, stuff like that. I of course you immediately go to that thought, like, oh well, you couldn't have just thrown one in there. You couldn't have done what this.
Like
and that, this and that.
do the evolution probably could have fit in.
It probably could have. So yeah, there was a second there where I thought that too, and then I had to say no. That is the absolute opposite intention of what this whole show is about. So
Right.
once I really kind of forced myself into that mindset, and then basically just ignored everything we ever thought about set construction or what we expect, then I really this whole thing kind of really came together.
Hey, if that's look, you see him 20 times out of 21 times or whatever it is, you can miss it. You can miss it one more time.
Yeah, you see even flow 20 times out of 19. That's not even mathematically possible, and it still happens.
I've not seen it twice, which is really pretty good in 20 shows. So, well, we had a blast today. Thank you so much, Dave. LiveFootsteps.org is it is a Pearl Jam fan treasure trove of goodies. If you haven't logged in and gotten an account, just do it now so we can see the uptick after the show airs, that we can see the uptick of everybody going on and getting accounts. No, I'm kidding.
We could take full credit for that.
Yeah, I'm kidding. No, go do it because
No, thank you guys. Yeah.
as a fan, you're just gonna absolutely love it. And Dave, all the stuff that you brought to the show today, thank you so much. I want to have you on again, to just have you on as a regular guest and not like throw, actual stats in your face and be like, oh, did this happen there and this happen there? No, we're going to have you on again because you've actually been to a show that have both Matt and my White Whale back to back, and that's the only time that they've ever done it back to back. I think we talked about this.
Right, and it is rare too. So yeah, I would definitely like to be on again, guys. Thank you very much.
You got it, absolutely. And again, if you're not on livefootsteps.org, if you're not checking it out, you're not doing it right. So
you are not doing it right. You got to get on there. Just you could tell the amount of work that has gone into this website. It's very impressive.
It's insane. Yeah, we're not worthy. You guys do a great job.
Guys.
You and your brother. Thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna do this again sometime.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
I thought that was an awesome podcast we just had there with Dave.
We definitely did. Yeah, that was.
Can't get better than that. I mean,
no,
we can't thank him enough. So thank you again.
It's cool. The community really kind of comes together and things like this. Like he does the same kind of thing that we do. He just kind of, takes his personal time. It's a labor of love, and he goes out there.
Absolutely. He's doing the hard work.
Right. And he just does it because he wants to see other fans like himself be happy and enjoy something. And I think that's just, it's so important to have people like that. It's not like I'm trying to be somebody. I always try to be the person that I would envy, essentially. And I think we've said on the show before, if we weren't covering the show and somebody else was doing it, I'd be so fucking jealous of that because it's such a
I want it to be something that I would listen to, and I think we might have mentioned it, but I don't think Dave realizes how much he has helped us with the podcast. So
for sure,
having him on is kind of like having the OG on that it all started from.
For sure, without a doubt. And I think he's at the point where he's been doing it for so long that people will share his stuff. They'll say, "Hey, go to Live Footsteps for this." And this past weekend was the first time somebody shared our podcast on one of the pages and asked people, "Hey, is this any good?" without like any prompting from me or anybody else. And I was nervous. I asked her, I'm like, "Hey, this is my show. I'd love to know what you think about it." And she's like, "Well," she was listening to, I think, the San Jose episode, and she was like, "Well, you guys weren't really very positive about the new album, and that kind of scared me a little bit." And I'm like, "Well," and I kind of explained myself, and
you got to do what a lot of people do. You got to go to the worst possible case scenario first. So then it has nowhere else to go but up,
Well, and
it's pretty realistic.
It is. And a lot of people came to us, and it's funny because we got an email this week, a very, very sweet email from Adrian, who is one of our first and finest fans. And she said that, and she was very honest with us. She was like, I came and hung out with you guys in Boston because you were giving away free shit. I'm like, okay, well, a lot of people were. And then she's like, then I listened to the first episode, and I thought you guys were way too negative and way too critical. I'm like, well,
we started it off with a little bit of a hot button show for sure.
We did, yeah. And it was not the way I wanted to start off. It was not a great introduction. And other people had said that too. They were like, you're way too negative for Pearl Jam. I just want all positive stuff. And I was like, well, that wasn't a positive show. So, and then she said, then I started listening to it more and more, and I couldn't, it's just listening to you guys and listening to the analysis and everything like that. And then she said something that made me so happy that somebody even marginally thinks this, that she says, keep doing what you're doing. It makes my heart happy.
We spend a lot of time researching and recording and editing, and it takes a lot of time away from, friends and relationships and family. And we're not going to put all that time in if we're not fans of what we're talking about. So if we're a little negative and critical, maybe it's because the show and the band wasn't that good. Most of the time, we're going to be very positive about things. But I think first and foremost, Randy, we want to be honest with ourselves and with everybody. So just if there's something you disagree with us on, that's kind of exactly why we're here. So, and maybe we could change your mind, and maybe you could change our mind. So keep listening, keep hating us, keep liking us. That's what we want. We want the reviews, and we
just
want
to be engaging. They're just
Exactly.
going to be engaging and entertaining.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I appreciate that woman's opinion about us being a little too maybe critical or nervous about the new album, because at least she's listening, and she's worried about our opinion about it, and she has
Yeah.
her opinion, and that's great. And now we're talking about it on the show.
It seemed like we kind of talked it out afterwards, and I'm like, I kind of explained myself. I said, well, it's not like it's not like I was saying it was going to be terrible. I was saying you should. I'm not keeping my hopes up, but and then she was like, well, I've been a fan since '91, and I just want something good again, and I don't want another lightning bolt. That just sort of scared me a little bit. You know, I I don't know if she listened to the show anymore. I hope she did, but her name was Valerie, I believe.
Valerie, we did not mean to scare you. I
No,
promise.
we're gonna only do two. I got a lot of stories for this one, and first one comes from Reddit, and it's from Poto101. This kind of defines how tough it was to actually get a ticket to this. He said, I was fortunate enough to attend that night. My girlfriend, now my wife, good on you, guy, helped me get tickets using 2 laptops and 1 desktop computer with at least 2 browsers open in each. I think Safari was the one that got us the tickets. So far, so goody.
That's a good one.
Yeah. We lined up around lunchtime, standing around the corner on Fletcher Street, so we couldn't hear sound check from the line, but my buddy and I took turns walking by the front of the door of the theater. Up front, you can see about 10 to 20 people that clearly camped out overnight in line. Also, my buddy's sister lived nearby and brought us snacks. We thought of it as a warm-up show, like the Showbox in '02, so we didn't anticipate a special set list. There was no special promotion of any kind. We just knew it would be special because of the size of the venue. The vibe on the floor was amazing. The floor was only 10 Club. The balcony was VIP industry people and definitely weren't as into it. Seemed to be friends and family. Jill and the kid and Harper. I don't remember his other daughter's name, and it's killing me.
I can't remember either.
So that's John who's going to email me like and tell me right away. So everybody else just save your email.
Yeah.
Ryan Dempster and Kerry Wood were in another box. They were former pitchers for the Cubs. You probably remember Kerry Wood because he was good for a year. Yeah, right. The floor was pretty crazy as it was general admission and everybody's super into the show and such an intimate venue. I've been to 18 Pearl Jam shows, and In Hiding from the Vic is still my favorite live show moment. The crowd drowned out Eddie, who put down the mic and let us sing the chorus. If you listen to the boot, the crowd is louder than Eddie when he sings No Longer Overwhelmed. Yeah, it seems so fucking simple now, which we played and is just, it's really good. It wasn't until after we walked out of the show and sat on the L platform that we looked at each other and realized how amazing that show was. We didn't expect to see them in that kind of venue ever again, and weren't sure if we'd hear that many rarities at any other show. And 11 years later, and you're right. Never gonna see that again.
Yeah, it's a pretty good description of the show, I think.
We had a bunch of other ones that kind of talked about, people not getting in and getting the tickets, and then some about how it was difficult to be on the GA because the GA was a little crazy and somebody was on the rail and was pushed off the rail, something like that. We can't tell every story today because we're kind of crunched for time a little bit, but there was one post from the porch message board from NW Ontario. He shared a blog entry that he had written around the time, and I wanted to share this because this is kind of what I was getting to. That I was going to kind of go into this opinion, but I think this sort of explains why somebody would be agitated at this show. So this is what NW Ontario says. Now, don't get me wrong, I love hearing Pearl Jam play its more obscure songs. It's one of the reasons I keep seeing them, but that does not mean I want 10 banished from the records of human existence. Something certain fans, and he has fans in quotation marks, would be glad to see happen. It's an attitude I don't understand. Pearl Jam isn't a band for snob obscurantists, since anyone who can headline a Lollapalooza is, by definition, incredibly popular. If you're so wrapped up in trying to appear to be the biggest fan in the world, in parentheses, my favorite song was Sweet Lou even before Lost Dogs. Yeah, a few of those people are out there, but it's okay. Then you're actually missing the point of by a considerable margin. On the other hand, club shows are problematic from a setlist point of view. Some songs are too big for a small venue, which I agree. I kind of agree with it. Since if they're at that height of popularity, you know these songs, like playing a live in a small venue after they've played it in front of 100,000 people.
I completely disagree with that. I don't think the venue matters, but there's a few things I agree with and disagree with here. But keep going. I want to hear the rest.
Some songs are too big for a small venue, which a point of which I made every time I've seen the tragically hit play a club show. I think Pearl Jam knows this, which I think helps explain why the Vict played out the way it did. Throw in a floor full of people who've seen every trick in your repertoire, and you got the ingredients for an unusual night. But after hearing String of Rarities, Shurkin, who is somebody, and I, probably his friend that he went with, Shurkin and I began feeling nonplussed. Rats? Whatever. Love Reign Over Me? Meh. Matt Cameron singing a Kiss song from behind a drum kit? You get the idea. It's not that it wasn't a great show, it's that the element of surprise was almost immediately taken away, which effectively robbed one of the vital ingredients of any classic Pearl Jam concert. Not even Ben Harper's surprise guest appearance felt like a real surprise. I guess what I'm saying here is this. As much as I enjoyed the experience of seeing Pearl Jam at the Vic, I wouldn't rank it alongside Buffalo 2003 or Toronto 2006. Okay, thanks for the leads there. As one of the great all-time shows that I've seen the band perform, but it was certainly a unique opportunity, and if it sounds like I'm being ambivalent about it, trust me, I'm not. But unique and life-altering are two different things, and in the aftermath of the show, when I heard people comparing it to the birth of their first child, well, it left me feeling kind of cold. And having said all that, hey, I was 20 feet away from Eddie Vedder at a show where I heard 14 different songs I had never heard live before, and where Matt Cameron sang a Kiss song from behind the drum kit. I'm really not complaining. I'm simply saying, as delicately as possible, that I've seen better from the band, and I think if most people who are in attendance would be completely honest, then they probably have as well.
I don't think he's being cold at all. I think that's a very honest opinion, and I agree. I completely agree with it. And I also agree with what he said. Yeah, I don't want 10 stricken from the history books at all, and I completely disagree with people that are down on that or would rather just have rare nights all the time. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think you need 10. You need songs like that. Just the only thing I don't agree with is that I think songs like Alive and Even Flow and stuff like that, I don't think they have a place here. And I think those are actually the songs that would have been out of place on a night like this. And I think maybe over time, maybe you could see that a little bit more. Maybe that night, this guy, thank you for writing in, by the way. Maybe that
This is actually stolen from his blog, but he did write in to say that he had at one point been critical of it.
Right, yeah. So maybe that night I could see maybe there being a little bit of a disappointment. Like he said, it's unique but not life-changing, and I think that's a very good point that he made.
It's kind of like saying that PJ20 was your favorite show. It was really unique, but PJ20 was not the best show ever. I mean, I have, we'll cover it at some point, but I mean, at the time, I was not very happy that they did 2 nights of Temple of the Dog, that's for sure. I wanted the second night to be all Pearl Jam.
Definitely.
But they're not. Both set lists are, it's just, it's kind of like splicing in a little bit of what they did at this show with some of the greatest hits.
Yeah.
And some of it worked and some of it was just kind of forgettable. Sometimes when I think about the PJ20 shows, I don't remember that they did some of the songs. I don't remember they did Satan's Bed. They did. I don't remember what night they did it. You know, some of those songs, it's tough. It's tough to remember all that. I don't remember that they closed with Kick Out the Jams half the time.
The one big thing that I disagree with is how he mentioned the size of a song compared to the size of a venue. And I've mentioned I was at Irving Plaza. That was maybe, if not 1,000 people, maybe 1,100.
They can't get much more than 1,000 in that venue.
It was Worldwide Suicide, Life Wasted, Severed Hand, Marker in the Sand. You got Garden, Even Flow, Given to Fly, Gone, Why Go, Do the Evolution, Comatose, State of Love and Trust, Porch, Alive, Yellow Ledbetter. I don't agree with a song not fitting in at a venue. I think, because I was there and I saw literally a 21 song set of all their heaviest hitters for the biggest stages in the world. But as we said, this was more of a campfire type night. It doesn't fit in the set because of what they were playing, not because they're not able to play them on a stage like that.
Like I said, I have the same sentiments about PJ20, which is, a very hit or a very missed show for some people, and I was critical about it. But it was an honest assessment.
That's all we ask for.
I'm totally okay with that. All right. I hope a lot of people talk about this one because it is one that deserves to be talked about. So once this is the next part that we do is the part that we do at the end of every episode. So you tell us how you feel about it. Why don't we public service announcement it and get us to know who you are?
Live on Four Legs is happy to present a weekly podcast dedicated to the Pearl Jam live experience. While we try to get ourselves to as many shows as possible, we have only attended a small fraction compared to the entire live history. That's why we need your help. We want to get to know who you are. If there's a live show that you've attended that you'd like to see us cover in our program, please send us an email at liveonfourlegs, that's the number 4, liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com. We want to know your entire live experience. Did you once miss a flight? Get lucky in the 10 Club lottery? Catch a white whale? Your stories will help us mold this into the best podcast it could possibly be. You're already getting to know who we are. Now it's time for us to know who you are.
All right. Like usual, get in touch with us. If you want to donate to Patreon, we finally got our shit together with Patreon. Monthly donations now. No more of this tier bullshit, $40 bullshit. If you donate to us, we'll give something back to you. I want to do as many fan episodes as humanly possible. So if you donate $5 a month, if you pledge $5 a month to us, we'll give you one episode. We'll bring you on whatever episode you want to do within the confines of what we can do right now. Because we're not gonna just go out there and say, yeah, you get the Mansfield triple threat. You'll get PJ20. You'll get this and that. We're gonna save some of the top shows for some of the top moments, and we wanna hit those when it's good to hit those. But if you want to do anything else, literally anything else, if you pledge $5 a month to us, at least $5, then we will definitely bring you on for a show, and you'll be part of it. You'll get a t-shirt. We will treat you like our fan. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Thanks. Pretty soon we're going to be doing next week, actually, we're going to be doing our toy drive. Look out for it next Thursday, the 13th. We're going to be doing a live toy drive, probably around like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We're just going to be running around Target, and you guys get to tell us it's all the proceeds that we've been getting from the Patreon donors, from the sweaters, and from the other online sales that we've been doing. We're gonna buy toys and donate to Toys for Tots, and we're gonna do it all that night. So what we want to know from you is get you kind of interacting with us and engaging with us, that we want you guys to help us pick the toys when we do the live stream video, and I think that'll be kind of a fun thing, and maybe we'll give away a Christmas sweater or two if we do that. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll promote it a little more once it comes closer. But Thursday of next week, the 13th at night, keep on the lookout. We're getting close to the end, but we have another episode next week, and we would tell you what it is, but we don't know. I have no idea what it is, because on Wednesday I posted a poll asking you guys what our next episode should be. So you're voting on it. As of right now, you're voting on it. What I want you to do, if you want to vote for this episode, you go to our Facebook page, you go to, if you go to the porch, if you go to Reddit, if you go to any of the other Pearl Jam official Facebook groups, it's probably on there. There's going to be a link to a Google poll, and it'll have 5 choices for next week's episode, and the poll is going to end on Sunday. So you had from Wednesday when we posted this up until Sunday. So it gives us a little time to get some stories, and then we'll record on Tuesday or whenever we record. So here are your choices. They're all full album shows. We got Moline, 2014, Milwaukee, which is Yield, that's 2014, Philly, 2016, which is 10. Toronto, 2016, which is Binaural. And Torino, 2006, which is Avocado. And try not to vote more than once. That's kind of a dick move, but I know that people are trying to do it.
Yeah.
So
we're talking to you, Chris Buckley.
I swear that he was the one that was doing it in the last one. He says it, he wasn't.
I don't think he was, but it's so much fun to put the blame on him because he took it so personally.
Well, you know why? It's because when I made the original polls on one of the Pearl Jam Facebook groups, he added his own option, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. That wasn't fair.
Oh man!
But you know what the option was? The option was Atlanta.
Right.
So we ended up doing that anyway. So
clever girl.
Yeah, seriously. All right, you got anything else? I think we did a good show today. I think we had a really good guest. If you're not on,
Dave was killer.
If you're not on livefootsteps.org yet, do it. Do it up. It's awesome. You're gonna fall down the rabbit hole hard, and share some of your stats with us. We'd love to see them. So it's all part of the game. So from now until the end of the year, we have 2 episodes left. We have next week, which we don't know what episode we're going to do, and then the week after that, which we don't even know what anything is going to be. We're picking our own show. It's going to be a fun little holiday episode, as we're calling it, the wish list episode.
We're kind of in the dark coming up on these next 2 weeks, but it's more exciting that way.
It is, and then once the new year comes around, we'll have a Patreon episode on the day of the new year. That's Patreon only, people. If you want to get in on that, just let me know, or just donate to our Patreon account. And then the first week of the new year is going to be our first MSG show, and that's going to be a theme going on throughout the year. But after that, a whole bunch of question marks. And we're taking requests. So we're taking a request, especially anywhere from No Code through Riot Act. So if you got a show that you're like, you have to cover this throughout that time period, we're going to really heavily consider it more than we're going to consider other stuff during that time. And we're going to do a lot. January is going to be a lot of Patreon people too, I think. So
sounds good to me.
All right. It may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. I miss you already. I miss you always. For Matt, Randy, Dave, live on 4 legs, livefootsteps.org, Eddie Vedder, Boom Gaspar, Stone Gossard, Stone Gossard, Stone Gossard, Stone Gossard, Stone Gossard.
Girl, you know it's girl. You know it's girl, you know it's...
We bid you good day.
Bye.
This is what I'm talking about right here. This is what makes me do the business. This is the wow factor. Guys, here's the wow factor. That, my friends, is the wow factor right there. When's the last time we've been able to yell out the wow factor? Man, la 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 la.